The world is veiled in darkness, the wind stops, the sea is wild, and the earth begins to rot. The people wait, their only hope, a prophecy. When the world is in darkness, 4 warriors will come. After a long journey, 4 young warriors arrive, each holding an orb. Alright, if you're unfamiliar, the game we're going to play today is Final Fantasy, the final one. Some may think that there were fantasies after this one, but they were wrong. This was the final one. No other fantasy to come after, which is actually what Square sort of thought at the time they made this game. It was one of their last projects when they thought they were going to go bankrupt, so they ended up made this game, and it actually was a huge success, saved the company. I believe they ended up selling off a lot of rights and stuff to Microsoft anyway, which later they got back. Over the period of time, Square has actually been combined with a bunch of different games, or different companies, such as Microsoft, which spawned Squaresoft, Enix, Square Enix, which they are today. This is actually by far my favorite game series, Final Fantasy, and on the scale of all of them, this is actually one of my ranked top games. As you can see, you can customize your characters to a point. You get to choose what you start off with. Unlike some of the later games, you are stuck with what you start off with. They do get an upgrade later. The party I'm going to go with today is a fighter, a red wizard, a black mage, and a black belt. The fighter's obviously, does large amount of physical damage, where the mages do some spell mages. The red mage does fight with a sword, and primarily is going to use healing magic on the side. Some do like to put a white mage, but as far as damage and speed through the game, it actually can take a little bit longer. Red mage usually suffices in order to heal yourself between dungeon and town. The black mage does a ton of damage, but is limited to the amount of spells they can do. Alright, we're gonna start. It's kind of confusing when you start off because there's nothing. It doesn't tell you what to do, where to go. You just see this castle and this village. So you head into the castle. If you actually talk to these people, the king is looking for the light warriors. You do not happen to be them, do you? Apparently this guy just asks every 4-membered group that comes by, as well as this guy, word for word. I think they're told to say that. So, and then again, you kind of confused, doesn't really tell you where the king is, other than that he's looking for him. And reports say that Garland holds the princess in a temple to the northwest. That's the first idea of what we're gonna do today. Probably fight Garland and save the princess, like any old and new cliched game. And the king is looking for us, kind of knows that. And here the king is. Light warriors, just as in Lucan's prophecy, Garland has kidnapped the princess. Please help her. So, we're gonna help. This is a pretty basic game. It was made in the late 80s, so there was no there's a quest log or anything like that to save your progress, or to come back and be like, oh yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do. As you see, you start off with no equipment, so we're gonna go pick up some equipment from what we're gonna assume is the village. Again, doesn't actually give you any detail, but probably a rushed project. I believe they only had like 7 people working on the game. Very limited money. Square didn't even want them doing an RPG, but they did it anyway. So you get these. There's a wooden, which then there's a picture of a staff, so you assume it's a staff, a small dagger, wooden nunchucks, a rapier, which has no picture, and an iron hammer. So I'm going to buy a few things. It's been a while since I've actually played this before, and there's no indication of who can use what specifically, other than when you go to and equip them. And no stats of is this better than what's already previously equipped, which can actually be kind of confusing when you're talking about the black mage, because the nunchucks at this point do more damage than the black mage, but he does get to the point where he can just use his fists. Or not the black mage, the black belt where he can use his fists and do a lot more damage than any weapon is going to allow him, which he does suck at this point. I did not go ahead and buy nunchucks, and I kind of got confused here by not remembering what I named each specific character, so I just changed around the equipment and then finish buying some stuff. You're limited on your gold to start with. Like most Final Fantasies, it's not going to allow you to buy everything. It's going to allow us to buy the basic equipment and armor, and then the armor is even more confusing because there's cloth, wooden, and chain. If you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, it's a little more, you know which type of class can use what type of armor. The black belt more than likely can only use wooden as the highest, but could also use cloth, but wouldn't be able to use the chain, or the fighter could use the chain, and the black mage is only going to be able to use the cloth. The game doesn't give you really any indication of that being so, of who can wear what, until you go to try to equip it all. So that's kind of the armor and weapons. They're gonna go back and potentially buy. Oh yeah, I was testing out if you could dual wield, because in some of the Final Fantasies, especially the older ones, you can equip multiple weapons to do multiple damage, or you can equip a sword and a shield to have higher defense, especially on like the fighter. On those games, I tend to really like to go with the dual wielding, because I like to speed through the random battles and level up faster, but this game doesn't let you. So I just bought a random bunch of stuff, wasted a bunch of money. I can sell it back, but at like a fraction of the price. And like I was saying before, it was very much modeled after Dungeons and Dragons. Once you hit like level 4, your main attack, you get 2 attacks. And then as you get even higher level, you gain 3, 4, and 5 attacks, which you do your base damage, multiplied by however many attacks you are doing. Let's check this well. This is a well. You might think that there is something to it, but in fact, it's just an ordinary well. Well then. Tricked me there, well. Alright, now we're going to buy some spells. It's very handy to have some black magic and definitely some curing spells. I only have 172 gold, so I can only buy 1 at the moment. So I'm going to buy fire to do some damage. I plan on grinding a little bit to get a little extra level, so I won't really need the cure at the moment. I should get the gold before. I actually really need it. So we're going to go grind a little bit, because this game is actually rather difficult. And with that said, if you do happen to die, you'd go to the clinic and it would resurrect your character, I believe for a fee. So you definitely need some gold, and it is a lot harder once you lose a character, because you lose a complete turn. Like I was saying, in order to fight Garland, who has the princess, you need to level up a little bit. It's potentially possible to do it at level 1. You're more than likely for sure going to lose at least 1 or 2 characters. It is by far the smallest dungeon ever made, but the boss fight and any potential random fight you get at will beat you pretty hard. So we're gonna get this random encounter where we fight imps. Looks like there's 5 of them. You get multiple options: fight, magic, drink, item, run. Fight, of course, you attack with your weapon. Magic, you cast spells. Run, you run. Items, you use items. Actually not quite sure what the drink is. I'll have to look that up. All the times I've played this game before, which has been a few times, I've never really used that option. And unlike most Final Fantasy games, when you choose to attack a target and it dies before your character gets his turn to attack, and a lot of other Final Fantasy games or even other RPGs, you'll just move on to the next target, or your character will pick like a random target out of the series of them and attack them. This one, you just have an inefficient attack. Your characters basically just try to beat the dirt. So we're gonna quickly finish this fight here. See, like I said, the black belt does like no damage now, but later on those fists do a lot. The black belt is also different in the form that with his fists he has two attacks, of course, one with each fist, so it's logical that way. He will gain a lot more attacks as he levels, just like everyone else. And there we go, the final imp falls. They do a little celebratory dance, and monsters perished. Gain some experience and some gold. The experience to level up is quite a lot. I'm actually going to speed up here in a minute because grinding can be quite boring. The amount of experience you get based on the amount of experience you really need to level up is quite far, so it takes a little bit if you want to level up. I suggest being level 3 before fighting the boss, but level 2 can work. You might lose a character, you might really not. It just kind of depends on how you play and how you manage your spells and your characters. So run around, grind a little bit. I will later on get the cure spell for the red mage to heal up, and I guess as I fast through this, I'll talk a little bit just about the game in general. It is a pretty difficult game, as you need to grind before certain bosses if you don't want a extraordinarily hard time. If you just go at the level you're at and whatever level the game gives you, you're gonna have some difficulty. It is, like I said, one of my favorite Final Fantasy games. There are things that do lack, such as the chat speed, especially after the end of battle. I believe it's triggered at a certain point. You have to hit a button, and then it'll move to the next chat, but it seems to lag a little bit, like it takes a while to move to that chat. So, I mean, it kind of, I'm not really sure, but it does take a good like 15 seconds after each battle just to move on. At least 5 to 10 seconds. It really feels like a long time in comparison to what it probably is. And then the experience is pretty meager, especially on like imps and things. As you saw, I initially, once I hit level 2, I went and healed up at the inn, which is also how you save. I didn't mention that before. There's no button where you just click save. You have to sleep at the end. You have to spend the gold. So if you're tired of playing, you have to make sure you have the gold. And you'll sleep at the inn, heal up your party, give you your spells back, count as a new day, and then you start up whenever you want to play again or anything like that. But I tried to go beat Garland, and I fought the first fight and gave me some creeps to fight, and one of them hit me for like 56 damage or some large amount of damage that I wasn't comfortable with moving on to the dungeon and fighting the boss. So I came to level up to level 3. If you can't do it at level 3, honestly, there's something wrong there. You should be overly able to go through that dungeon and fight Garland at level 3. Garland is right on the other side of that door, so it's really not that difficult. Something I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try putting out these videos for Final Fantasy 1 and then move on to some of the other Final Fantasy. I may not do them in order due to some of them are my favorite, especially because Final Fantasy 2 especially is one of my least favorite, just because it doesn't have a level system. It's based off of, you know, what you do in a fight and what type of things happen. It's kind of annoying, but it is still pretty fun. It clearly kept the game alive for 3, 4, and now we're on to 15, which actually looks pretty good. There's not a whole lot about the next Final Fantasy out yet. I really hope they improve on everything that was wrong with 13. But we're going to rest and try to buy a couple spells here. And then hit Garland, see if we can't take him down and save the princess and maybe get some rewards. I don't know. Seems like either a really bad day or a really good day for that princess with the 4 light warriors after rescuing her. You never know. We'll see. But Yeah, really the only spell the red mage needs is cure. There's like ruse and a couple other things. It's not really needed at the moment, so we're gonna cure and make sure we can keep our characters alive. And of course, every single one of these houses triggers into the place. I don't know why they didn't just put one area or something, but I guess to fill up the map and make it look like it's actually a full town. I'm gonna fight a mad pony, which really just looks like a unicorn. So I don't know why they didn't just name it a unicorn. Later, I believe they become nightmares. That's one thing the game does is as the game progresses, the enemies definitely get harder, and a lot of times they use the same like pictures and then change them. As you saw, as going through the grinding phase, there was some imps that were dressed in blue. Those were a little bit stronger, still pretty weak. I believe they had a different name as well. This Final Fantasy 1 doesn't have as large of a bestiary as most other Final Fantasies, which of course it was the first one. They do use a lot of creatures from Dungeons and Dragons, including like Tiamat the dragon, and imps and ogres and things like that, which do eventually carry on in some of the other Final Fantasy games, but they do seem to get further and further away from any sort of Dungeons and Dragons theme. At this point, they're probably not even close to Dungeons and Dragons. There's some features still in there, but ultimately it's its own thing now. Some of the ideas they come up with anymore, I wonder why they did it, especially with 13. They were all right games. They definitely got better as the games went, but I didn't really understand why they made 3 out of such at least an unpopular series in America. But I believe it was more popular in Japan. Maybe there's something they see that we don't. I personally didn't overly like the games. I thought you didn't have enough control and stuff. But this one definitely goes back to the olden day where you have to be smart. You have to think about your moves. It was before they put in the time where you had like no time at all to think. No one touches my princess, light warriors. You impertinent fools. I, Garland, will knock you all down. Well, that sounds threatening. So we're gonna fight Garland here. He's really not that tough. Honestly, the creatures in the dungeon that you can potentially run into are probably tougher than he is. But he can do a good amount of damage. My black mage will be the one that does the most damage to him, so it really sucks that he hit him. On the next turn, I'm going to make sure to heal him just to keep him alive, just in case. Ultimately, I didn't really need it, but 24 damage compared to the rest was pretty decent. I think he only has like 100 or 200 hit points or something like that. It's really not a lot. And I believe actually you don't kill Garland here. I think he returns later, which we will find out at a different time. But like I was saying, the fighting system, you have to think. You have to choose all 4 of your characters' idea, like what they do ahead of time. So it's a lot more tactical. You get to actually spend time thinking, okay, do I need to heal? Do I need to fight? Do I need to run away? Do I need to use magic? There's a speed factor where Garland can hit us before any of us 4 do anything. Usually cure spells are a lot faster, so those sometimes happen first, but sometimes they don't. So you gotta also think whether or not is the boss gonna hit me first and kill my character. So is what I do with that character even gonna matter? What overall is the best way to go about this? So you're the light warriors, thank you. Yay, we saved the princess. And thank you for saving the princess. To aid your quest, I ordered a bridge built to the continent. Go now and make the orbs shine again. I really wish they thought about crystals. Crystals, like at the beginning, I like crystals a lot more. This loot has been passed down from queen to princess for 2,000 years. Garland stole it when he kidnapped me. Please accept it as my gift. It just might come in handy. Passed down from princess to princess, queen to princess for 2,000 years. I'm just gonna randomly give it to you guys. Sure, why not? That makes hell of a lot of sense. Also has the nods that it might be helpful. Clearly it's going to be helpful. Or else she wouldn't have given it to us. The story of it being passed down just makes it unbelievable that she would even hand it to you. But in retrospect, you're supposed to be the light warriors, the ones that save the entire world. So it really doesn't matter who owns the flute if the world dies. And if it can be helped of you, I guess. Why not? So I explore the castle a little bit. Everyone's thanking me for saving the princess. She must be liked. Or she just sleeps with all the guards. Maybe. We'll probably never know. You do actually come back later. So there's a little more story to the princess and the king than them just being like one time, never see them again. Unimportant characters. And back here you see these little old dudes. 400 years ago, the treasury was locked by the mystic key. Our ancestors gave the key to the Prince of Elfland for safekeeping. Sounds like I gotta find the Prince of Elfland. This door is locked by the mystic key. And this guy repeats the same thing. Likes to use the same thing. I'm gonna try something here. Use lock, which I assume is similar to knock from Dungeons & Dragons, where it unlocks doors, but it clearly doesn't work on these doors. I believe there's something like ultimate armor or something in them that at some point when you find the Prince of Elfland, you're able to get into him, get some stuff, get some really sweet stuff to then go fight the evils of the world. Which, if they were smart, they would just give you at the beginning of the game and save you some trouble, because ultimately your armor sometimes wins out over anything else. So I actually decided to maybe buy some nunchucks because my black belt sucks. He's doing like 2 damage and that's hitting twice. So I'm gonna put some nunchucks on until they are no longer needed. Look at this hammer. I decided not to because I don't think it actually works for any of the characters that I have. So now we're gonna leave the town. And they built a nifty bridge, which is convenient because there was no other way off this island at the moment. And so the journey begins. But it just began. So I'm really confused there. What awaits the 4 they do not know, each holding an orb that 2,000 years ago shined with beauty from within, but now only darkness. Again, crystal would have sounded a lot better there. Instead of orb. Come, start your journey. Return the light of peace to our world. And then it gives you the program by Nasir and character design. Scenario by Kenji Terada, and production of Square A-Team, which consisted of like 7 dudes, because Square really didn't want them to do this game, but they didn't have much other choice and ended up saving them, and now they'll do it. Well, that's the end of this video. There will be more. If you liked, please subscribe and hit the like button, and comment down below if you want to see anything else. Thank you.